William E. Simon Senior Research Fellow at the Heritage Foundation, and the founder and editor of Public Discourse, the online journal of the Witherspoon Institute here in Princeton, New Jersey. He's the author of Truth Overruled, The Future of Marriage and Religious Freedom, and also the co-author with Princeton Professor George and Sharif Burgess of What is Marriage, Man and Woman, a Defense. Dr. Anderson's research has been cited by 2 U.S. Supreme Court justices, Justice Alito and Justice Clarence Thomas, in 2 Supreme Court cases. He received his Bachelor of Arts degree from Princeton University, graduating Phi Beta Kappa and magna cum laude, and he received his doctoral degree in political philosophy from the University of Notre Dame. His dissertation was titled, Neither Liberal Nor Libertarian, A Natural Law Approach to Social Justice and Economic Rights. Dr. Anderson has made appearances on ABC, CNN, CNBC, MSNBC, and Fox News. His work has appeared in the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Wall Street Journal, the Harvard Journal of Law and Public Policy, and the National Review. This spring, Oxford University Press will also release Dr. Anderson's new book, Debating Religious Liberty and Discrimination, co-authored with Sharif Burgess and John Corvino. Also in the spring, the University of Notre Dame Press will release a book of collected essays, A Liberalism Safe for Catholicism, Perspectives from the Review of Politics, which he edited with Dan Philpott. And he's also currently working on a book on the transgender movement. And also while he's here at Princeton, he'll be participating in a debate tomorrow with visiting Professor Linda McLean on religious liberty and anti-discrimination laws, and that talk will be moderated by Professor Vecito and sponsored by Tori. With that, please join me in welcoming Dr. Ryan Anderson.
Great, well thank you all for coming. I'm going to try to project since we don't have the microphone working today. And it's wonderful to be back. I actually took classes in this classroom a little over a decade ago, so it's great to be back. And, what I hope to do today is talk a little bit, the title for the lecture is very descriptive, and the talk's going to come in 3 parts about marriage, what it is, why it matters, and then the consequences of redefining it. There'll be plenty of time at the end for questions and answers. You can explain to me why you think I'm wrong. I can explain to you why I think I'm not wrong. There'll be the give and take. That is kind of the hallmark of Princeton. One of the great things about Princeton is that we can actually host discussions about issues like this in a civil and respectful way. It's, I think, one of the virtues of this campus when you compare it to some other campuses across the United States right now. So let me start, as any good conservative should start, by turning back the clock 50 years. You're waiting, that's a good sign. My audience is with me. All right, so 50 years ago, Senator Daniel Patrick Moynihan, he writes what was known as the Moynihan Report. It's an infamous report in which he pointed out that at the time, this is 1964, he points out that back then, births to single mothers in the general population were in the single digits. But births to single mothers within the African American community were approaching 25%. And Moynihan said something's going wrong in family structure. The black family has stayed intact throughout slavery and Jim Crow, but now something's happening and it's starting to come apart. Moynihan was then roundly criticized for being a racist. Moynihan, in his defense, he was a liberal professor at Harvard University. He was then a liberal senator from the state of New York. He wasn't a racist. He wrote that report precisely because he cared about African Americans. And he thought that something going on within the family was going to have consequences for those women, those men, those children. So his report was sounding an alarm bell about this. What Moynihan picked up on was something that was taking place not just within the African American community, but within all families. And so if you fast forward today, and you look at those same statistics, back in Moynihan's time it was single digits, about 5% within the general American population, 25% within the African American community. Today, it's 40% of all Americans born to single mothers. It's 50% of Hispanic children, and it's over 70% of African American children. The first thing to say about these statistics and these families is that gays and lesbians aren't to blame for the growth of out-of-wedlock childbearing in the United States. Today's lecture will talk about the recent debates about the definition of marriage. We'll talk a little bit about the Supreme Court case, but not actually that much about the court. It's mainly a little bit of philosophy. So it's important to situate this in the correct kind of social context. Gays and lesbians didn't create 40, 50, 70% of American children being born outside of an intact marital household. Straight people did. And so to get this correct, we have to think what took place 50 years ago that now roughly 40% of all American children are born outside of a relationship with both their mother and their father. To my mind, what took place was the sexual revolution. What Moynihan was picking up on was starting to take place. There were other economic factors. We can talk about the role of economics in this as well. But to a certain extent, there was a new understanding of human sexuality, and the human body, and the human family that has gained new prominence in the 1960s with the sexual revolution. This was the idea that love makes a family, and that marriage should last as long as the love lasts, and that consenting adults should do sexually whatever consenting adults want to do. None of these popular slogans that we heard in the past 10 years in the context of the marriage equality debate were things that gay activists created. These were things that sexual revolutionaries created back in the 60s. What took place 2 years ago at the Supreme Court was that 5 unelected justices took the logic of the sexual revolution to its logical conclusion. So it's after 2 generations of straight people not taking monogamy or exclusivity or permanence seriously that we arrive at a point where lawyers and judges and justices wouldn't take sexual complementarity seriously. So the redefinition of marriage is a consequence, not the cause, of family fragmentation and the breakdown of marriage in the United States. But the third part of this afternoon's lecture, I'm going to say it'll be a consequence that then functions as a catalyst. That the legal redefinition of marriage is the result of a bad understanding of marriage and of the family, and now it will accelerate some of those additional consequences. So that's the trajectory of the talk. So it's going to come in 3 parts. First, what is marriage? Second, why does it matter as a political matter? I'm not a theologian, so I'm not going to talk about any of the spiritual benefits of marriage. I'm not going to get into the super nature of marriage. I'll just talk about the nature of marriage. And then third, what are the consequences? So for the first part, about 5 or 6 years ago, Sharif Girgis, who was a couple years behind me at Princeton, and then Robbie George and I, we co-authored a law review article for the Harvard Journal of Law and Public Policy that then, a few years later, we turned into a book titled, What is Marriage? And we titled it that because we said that's really the central question that Americans were debating in the prior decade. It wasn't about marriage equality. Everyone we knew was in favor of marriage equality. And I imagine everyone in this room is in favor of marriage equality. We all want the law to treat all marriages equally. What we disagree about is what type of a relationship is a marital relationship. So the reason we titled the book and the law review article, What is Marriage? We thought that really got to the heart of the question that we were disagreeing about in the United States. We saw some philosophers, and now he's my co-author, John Corvino. Professor Corvino, he's a philosopher at Wayne State University. He's now married to a man. He's in a gay marriage. He had a vision of marriage that said marriage is about consenting adults, romance, and caregiving. Sharif, Robbie, and I thought, so I should clarify, he's my co-author now in the Religious Liberty book. It's titled Debating Religious Liberty and Discrimination. It's a point-counterpoint book. So he and I, we disagree about marriage, and now we kind of agree and we kind of disagree about religious liberty, and we've written a book together arguing. But back then, we were disagreeing about marriage. Robbie, Sharif, and I, we write a response to what we think is a misguided vision of marriage, because we thought it wasn't just misguided because John proposed it and he wanted to get gay married. We thought this was a vision of marriage that many heterosexuals had embraced for themselves and for their families. That this wasn't a creation known as gay marriage. It was just a different vision of marriage, period. And that many straight people have this vision of marriage. It's about consenting adult love, romance, caregiving, where the consent shapes the union. And it's the only thing that shapes the union. And so consenting adult romance can come in as many different sizes and shapes as consent comes in. It can be between 2, 3, or more people. It can be permanent, or it can be temporary. It can be exclusive, or it can be open. And we we thought that this vision of what marriage is simply gets the marital relationship wrong. And so the task we put to ourselves was, all right, so what's the alternative vision? And for that, Ravi, Sharif, and I, we come out of the Aristotelian tradition, the natural law tradition. We look to Aristotle. And Aristotle teaches that you can analyze any type of a community by looking at three aspects of the community. Aristotle says, look at the actions that the members engage in, look at the goods the members are ordered towards, and then look at the norms that govern the life of the community. Look at the norms, the commitments that the community makes to each other. And so since we're at a university, let me illustrate this basic approach by using a university. What makes a university a university? And not just kind of a large economic corporation with annual giving and football games. What makes an academic institution a university community, is that one, we engage in academic actions. What are academic actions? It's things like what's going on right now. Your professors deliver lectures, you as students attend lectures. They write books, you read their books and their articles. You take exams and you write papers, they then read your exams and your papers, they grade them. You go to office hours, you discuss those papers, you have precept and you discuss the ideas that are being presented in the readings and the lectures. Those are the sorts of things that make up an academic institution as an academic institution. Tailgates and annual giving are nice additions, but they don't go to the heart of university life. Now, what are all of those academic actions ordered towards? So if the action is the first part of the analysis, the good is the second part. All of those actions ultimately are ordered towards the good of the truth. They're ordered towards discovery of knowledge of what is true. This is why, if a university life is going well, you don't view it as a personal insult or a rebuke when someone corrects you. If your teacher says, oh, you got this question wrong, here's a better way of understanding whatever the concept is. Here's a better way of understanding what marriage is. A healthy university life says, look, the give and take of ideas and of arguments is how we mutually get closer and closer to discovery of truth. It's not about me defending my preconceived opinions. It's not about you defending your preconceived opinions. It's not about indoctrination, one way or the other. It's about trying to eliminate error and